Hello, everybody. Tim Dwyer from South Australia back again. And yes, I've got a lovely full stadium at a concert behind me because that's what free people do when they have not been terrorized by criminals and traitors. And I use those words in the full context of their meaning when I talk about our politicians and the media and the public service. Now, I want to just clear up a couple of things. I am not a legal expert. I am not a lawyer, nor am I a doctor or a virologist or any of that sort of stuff. But it's funny. When my parents sent me to school, they sent me to school to learn how to read, how to think, and how to deduct. And over my near 70 years of life, I have become very proficient at reading, not very proficient at spelling, but very proficient at reading. And my ability to deduct, I think, is pretty good. I do have a lot of experience in research. I do have a lot of knowledge in some field of science, in the gases. And just for those of you who don't know, I have built, designed, and developed the world's most efficient hydrogen fuel cell of a green nature, meaning it's electrolysis. And we do actually have some research background. Okay, having said all that, let me explain a couple of things to you. I've got some notes. I'm not going to try and flick to a PowerPoint or anything like that. My computer takes a fritz from time to time when I do that. But I just want to point out a couple of things to you. Western Australia has gone into lockdown, lunacy lockdown. Daniel Andrews wants to have power until December, emergency power. Now, all this is getting way, way out of hand. It was out of hand before it started, but it's way out of hand. The Biosecurity Act of 2015, Section 8, right, basically says that no state law can be inconsistent with this act. All right? They cannot be inconsistent. So the 2015 Biosecurity Act is the overarching framework that the states have to fit into. If they do not fit into it, then you pay it no adherence. Now, if we jump all the way forward here, we've got people saying you've got to wear masks, you've got to be tracking, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Well, let's see what the overarching framework says. It says in section 477, subsection 3, that this restricts all the testing and masking and any medical procedures, right? That you, firstly, for anybody to be told to wear a mask or to be tested or to have a prong stuck up your nose, the government officials must first identify that you personally have been exposed to a biohazard and or show symptoms. Now, if they have not done that, and if they demand you wear a mask or get tested or do this or that, or go into lockdown, the government and the police have broken the law. Right? They've broken the law. Now, there is no excuse for breaking the law. These people are meant to know the law. However, now in section 60 and 61, for you to be given a biosecurity order with a unique identifier number by an authorized biosecurity officer, you must have first shown symptoms or signs of one or more symptoms or signs of the hazard, the biosecurity hazard, the human disease that they're calling COVID-19. Right now, this is amazing because 99.9% of the people that have gone into lockdown have had no symptoms. People running around with masks are making themselves sick, but they don't have symptoms of the known coronavirus disease, right? Everybody, the coronavirus. 1 minute you hear they're testing for coronavirus. Next minute they're talking about COVID-19. I wish these people would stick to one story. Now, always you have a right of review. You do not have to accept on the first flush of what they say. You have rights of review. Now, Section 88 of the Biosecurity Act, the overreaching Biosecurity Act that the states have to adhere to, say no one can require you to contract trace, QR code, testing, masks, unless you are subject to a biosecurity control order. Now, for an examinations, no force can be applied to you for any aspect, for lockdowns, restriction of movement, nothing. The Victorian police seem to have forgotten that. Now, what I'm saying is that every time some government official wants you to put a mask on, track, trace, drops you to the ground because you're protesting or whatever, you're 5 kilometers from home at that time or whatever, the more video evidence we have of this, the better off we're going to be, because they are liable under the law. And I know you're saying, yeah, but Tim, how do you get them into courts? We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, a state law that is in conflict with the Federal Biosecurity Act, the federal law has always had precedence over the states based on Section 109 of the Constitution, right? And so if they ask you, you know, why haven't you got a mask on? Well, I haven't been served with a biosecurity order and you can't make me. Let me bring up something else here. This is mind-blowing stuff. You can't see it, but I'll just read this, right? On January 21 of 2020, human coronavirus with pandemic potential was added to the biosecurity listed human disease determination of 2016. The World Health Organization has named the disease COVID-19. Now, who in the hell in their right mind, when we look deeply into the World Health Organization, would trust what they say? But anyway, let's move right along here. The human coronavirus, right? Now, the coronavirus, a minute ago, it was COVID-19, and this is in the legislation, right? The human coronavirus with pandemic potential is an infectious disease. And I want you to understand the word pandemic potential, right? That has entered Australian territory and that is fatal in some cases. Now, at the time, the health regulator, he stood up and said that there'd be roughly up to 3% of the entire population, man, woman, and children, could die from this. That was some 700,000 people, scared the crap out of everybody. Some cases. Now, let's have a look at the word potential. Potential, possible, as opposed to actual, right? The potential use of nuclear energy. Devastating potentially, but actually it's never happened. Capable of being or becoming a potential danger of safety. Well, every time you get in your damn car and go to work, there's a potential danger to safety. Every time you walk across the street, there's a potential danger to safety. And the biggest danger to safety is listening to our corrupt politicians and watching the television. For God's sake, put a blanket over that thing, turn it off, pull the plug out of the wall. It will destroy your capacity of natural thought. So there is no actual problem here. It's all potential. Now, let's go and have a look at some facts. The Australian Bureau of Statistics listed 116,345 doctor-certified deaths occurred between the 1st of January 2020 and the 27th of October 2020, and were registered by the 30th of November. This compares to a baseline average of 117,484 over the past 5 years. Do you get that? It's 1,000 deaths less. And these politicians, power-hungry, egomaniacal politicians, have got people jumping through hoops and living in fear. Now we get down here a bit further. It states that deaths were below the historical minimum range for most of June, July, and late August, and since mid-September, between the 3rd of June and the 27th of October. Now that's the middle of winter. There has been a total of 57,939 deaths from all sources. This is from every source, from heart attack, stroke, cancer, getting hit by cars, whatever. That is 3,388 below the average for that time of year of 61,327. They've got us in a state of emergency with no emergency. The Civil Procedures Act of 2010, and I quote Section 6, nothing overrides the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibility Act 2006, that we invoke the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act 2006, Section 10, protection from torture and cruel and inhumane, degrading treatment of a person must not be A, subject to torture or treated or punished in a cruel, inhumane or degrading way. Inhumane or degrading way, cruel. Being locked in your house for weeks, cruel, inhumane, degrading. Losing your job, cruel, inhumane, degrading. Being forced to have a probe stuck up your nose to break the membrane cell there, cruel, inhumane. The Egyptians did it as a form of torture and punishment. Ladies and gentlemen, we, you and I, the ordinary people, have to go to the politicians' offices and literally let them have it. I was watching Craig Kelly and Tanya Plibersek go toe-to-toe in the hallways, and then Turd Bull, right, Bull Turd, he calls Kelly into the office and gives him a dressing down for speaking his mind, for doing the research, for listening to the real science. Now, you've got to understand, Tanya Plibersek, her husband's a convicted heroin dealer. And yes, he's got a job in the Labor Party too. Says a lot for the Labor Party. Says a lot for Tanya. Tanya Plibersek would have every child masked. Cruel and inhumane. All right. They must not be subjected to medical or scientific experiment or treatment without his or her full and informed consent. Social distancing, scientific experiment. Mass house arrest, scientific experiment. Mass population masking, mask wearing, is a scientific experiment. Mass media and fear mongering 24/7 is both a scientific experiment and an active act of terrorism on a civilian population. You look up just go to Google and look up define terrorism, and you will see that fear mongering on that level is an act of terrorism. And the politicians and the media are acting in full-blown terrorism. Injecting an experimental mRNA, DNA-altering particles into humans is a scientific experiment, as this has not been tested long-term and there are no long-term test results. You know, as just one bloke, I listen to all I try to listen to both sides. And it's difficult because I cannot see the logic between treating healthy people as sick people, considering everybody is sick until proven healthy. That's BS. That is just pure BS. We are all healthy until we demonstrate that we are not healthy. I believe that we are at a point in time where the government must understand something. Either admit the fact that you are treasonous, beg forgiveness, resign your office, and throw yourself on the mercy of the people. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. Their egos are just way too big for that. Do the politicians care what I think? No. No, I'm just one little ant. But see this stadium here? What about if all us little ants started to really scream? Now, we can't get all this information out onto social media because, well, I'm already blocked on Facebook and all sorts of stuff. The truth is such an evil, evil thing out there today in this world. And so what I'm going to look at is putting out an emailable newspaper that can be just 4 pages at a time, that can be printed off by everybody who receives it, and just letterbox drop it around your neighborhood. Maybe 10, maybe 20 copies of it. Just letterbox drop it. Gets it off social media, reaches people that never see it before, and never, won't ever look at our pages. We have to expose people to the fact of truth. We have to let the politicians know that they can't control us on social media. Let Zuckerberg and all those guys, let them have the bloody pages to themselves. Let the people who want to post up pictures of their cats and dogs and their cakes, let that be Facebook. Let the truth go back to where it came from, underground. Let the rumbles begin underground. They won't know how to stop it. They can't stop it. Once we've got it going out in paper form, we can print it off over and over and over and over again, and we can go for a walk of a night to exercise, and we can put it in letterbox after letterbox after letterbox after letterbox. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time the government understood that they either come to heel or they may not like what's coming, because when good people are forced to do bad things, it gets real nasty real quick. My name's Tim Dwyer from South Australia. I will not be vaccinated against my will. I will not take experimental medical procedures against my will. I will not mask myself or be muzzled in any way, shape, or form. I encourage you to seek your truth. And I encourage you to get behind Craig Kelly and tell Malcolm Turnbull that he's way out of step. And if Malcolm Turnbull wants to turn around and start telling people you either get this vaccination or you can't have a job or you can't have this, I think Malcolm Turnbull's going to see a riot like this country's never seen before. I think the ground will shake. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Tim Dwyer from South Australia. I'll speak to you again soon.